You know that feeling, right? That little clench in your chest, maybe. That sudden wave of just missing something familiar, really familiar. When you're miles away from it all, it's that longing for home.
Yeah, it really is universal, isn't it? Homesickness. Whether you're just away for a bit or, living somewhere else for ages, it can just wash over you. Sometimes leaves you feeling stuck in a bit of a funk, a low day, even when like amazing stuff is happening around you.
Absolutely. And we've been looking through some things you shared with us for our chat today, personal stories from people traveling, students abroad, that kind of thing, plus some research into the psychology of it all. And wow, the role food plays
Yeah.
and just connecting culturally. It's huge.
Right. So what we wanted to do was sort of unpack those experiences, just going by what was in the stuff you gave us, see how people handle missing home, how they find their feet again, find comfort,
Yeah.
and maybe pull out some key ideas, some surprising bits maybe.
Okay, let's jump in then. What exactly is homesickness, according to this material?
Well, the sources define it pretty simply, really.
Yeah.
At its core, it's a longing for your home when you're not there for a while. But it's not just the building. It's everything. People, routines, smells, sounds, the whole package.
And it sounds like it's not just one feeling, like it varies.
No, definitely not. It's more like a spectrum. One source mentioned it can be pretty mild, maybe just that knot in your stomach, feeling a bit off, unsettled. But then, yeah, it can get more severe. It can show up as feeling really lonely or anxious, nervous even.
And something that really jumped out at me was how it can just blindside you. You could be having this incredible adventure, something you dreamed of, and then suddenly, wham, you feel it.
Right. It can hit even if you weren't expecting it, especially when you're really pushed outside your comfort zone. And the sources point out, life away isn't always perfect Instagram pictures. There are just low days, days you really miss your creature comforts, those little things you take for granted.
Like knowing exactly where the good coffee is in the supermarket back home, or just like getting the local jokes without even thinking.
Exactly. Or you face culture shock. One example given was just how different life in a new big city can feel compared to your smaller hometown. Or you just feel isolated sometimes. That was mentioned as being particularly tough for students abroad, especially during like the pandemic.
It's that bittersweet thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Living a dream, studying abroad, traveling. And it is amazing, but there's still that ache. Missing home, missing all those cozy, familiar bits.
And the sources really, really validate that feeling. One great point made was that just acknowledging it, accepting the homesickness, that's actually a really important first step. One person in the material said something like, appreciating that you miss home means you've got a great place, great people to actually miss.
Oh, I like that. That's a nice way to frame it. It's not just negative, it's proof of something good.
It is, and just knowing it's common, that you're not the only one feeling it, that can help too. That feeling of, okay, we're in this together.
So once you've kind of accepted, okay, this is happening, what did the sources say about ways people actually find their footing again, get out of that funk?
Well, there are loads of different personal ways people cope. It's definitely not a one-size-fits-all thing.
Right. What kind of ideas came up?
Some were surprisingly simple, almost physical things like just taking a deliberate breath or really looking at a tree. Even trying something like a cold shower was mentioned. Apparently, it can sort of jolt your nervous system, shift your state. One source mentioned that idea, how a quick, intense physical thing can break a negative thought loop.
Huh. Interesting. Like a physical reset for the brain? What about other ways? Engaging your senses, maybe?
Music, that came up again and again. Listening to music that calms you down or just takes you to your happy place. Apparently, it can work really fast. There was a story about someone listening to a specific Kenny Chesney album, songs from an old blue chair, and it always put them in the proper place. They realized during a tough week they hadn't listened to any music, put it on, and boom, mood shifted.
Oh, I totally get that. Music has that instant connection, doesn't it? To memory, emotion.
It really does. Self-care was another big theme. Doing something small that makes you feel better about yourself. Getting a haircut, maybe. Manicure, pedicure, or just having a spa day at home. Just taking that time to look after yourself.
Yeah. And finding familiar entertainment that was mentioned is really comforting, too. Watching movies or shows in your own language.
Right. One person found watching English language movies in Budapest just helped them forget for a little while where they were. A needed mental break.
Like a mini escape. Makes sense. And sometimes, the sources said, you just need space.
Yeah, exactly. Taking a break from, say, hostel life. Getting an Airbnb for a couple of days, maybe, just to reset if you've been in shared spaces constantly.
Oh, I could see that.
Mm.
Hostels are great for meeting people, but sometimes you just need quiet and a door.
Totally. Now, connecting with people, obviously super important, but the material had some interesting nuances too.
Nuances, like it's not just call home more.
Right. Actually, the sources had different takes on how often to connect. Some people found daily check-ins really comforting, that constant link, but others actually felt that less frequent contact helped them immerse more, and maybe made the contrast less jarring when they did talk to people back home.
Oh, okay. So finding your own rhythm is key.
Precisely. And there were different ideas for how to connect, too, like using family group chats for photos and videos. Less pressure than a call, maybe, but keeps everyone in the loop. Sending voice notes was another idea. Quick, personal. Or setting up a regular home date call time so it's consistent. Basically, finding what works for you.
And what about making connections where you actually are?
Oh, absolutely crucial. The sources really stress that. Finding community abroad. Connecting with other people from your home country or even your home city. That shared understanding, apparently it's invaluable. They just get it.
Yeah.
And organizing things together, like having dinner parties with friends you've made from back home. That creates community, helps fight the homesickness together.
That sounds lovely, like building a little anchor of familiar in a new sea, which kind of leads us nicely to food, doesn't it?
Yes, comfort food. The sources spent a lot of time on this.
So how do they define comfort food? What is it exactly?
Well, it's described as food that you have this really strong emotional connection to, nostalgic usually. It gives you that feeling of like consolation, well-being,
Hmm.
psychological comfort. Basically, food that soothes your soul, takes you to a happy place. One article really talked about its power to take you back to childhood, evoke sentimentality.
So it's way more than just taste. It's the memories wrapped up in it.
Absolutely. It's often tied to childhood, home cooking, specific happy times, maybe your mom making your favorite dish, or soup your dad always made on Sundays, things like that came up. Eating those foods literally helps you feel better. It's like a walk down memory lane. Examples like stew peas and rice, or that Sunday chicken soup. Very specific, very evocative.
And there's even some science behind why it feels so good.
All right,
you know?
Yeah, the sources touched on that. It's not just in your head. There's a physical side, too. Foods we often think of as comfort foods high in carbs, usually they can actually boost serotonin production. That's the neurotransmitter linked to feeling calm, content. And the fat content, also pretty common, triggers the brain's reward centers. So you get that double hit of pleasure and satisfaction.
So your brain is literally saying, yes, good job eating this.
Pretty much. The material also got really practical about how people use food to get that taste of home when they're far away.
Like cooking familiar stuff?
Definitely. That was the most common thing. Recreating recipes from home often means calling family for tips, maybe even video calling while you cook. And the sources pointed out simple recipes can be just as good as fancy ones. Plus, just the act of cooking, spending time in the kitchen, that itself can be a really relaxing break from everything else.
I can see that. Doing something familiar, a process, even in a strange kitchen.
And adapting local dishes came up too, getting creative, adding simple, familiar things to what you find there to make it taste more like home. Like adding your favorite hot sauce to eggs, maybe, if that's your thing.
Smart. Small tweaks, big comfort boost.
And packing specific things from home. Ingredients that are hard to find, spices, special snacks, coffee. One student mentioned bringing back plantain chips, coconut water, grits, even frozen conch fritter batter from the Bahamas to Boston because you just couldn't get it there. Eating them felt calm, normal, like home.
Snack power. It's real.
It totally is.
Yeah.
And if cooking's not happening, searching for restaurants that serve food from your home country, that can hit the spot too. Like the student in Boston finding Peruvian places for a taste of home.
Finding those little culinary embassies.
Exactly. And seriously, back to snacks, the sources really emphasize just having snacks you loved at home nearby can be a huge source of comfort. Simple relaxation.
And it wasn't just about the food itself, was it? The material mentioned making rituals around it.
Yes. How you eat it can add to the comfort. Serving it nicely, using a favorite plate maybe, having a specific drink with it, putting on some music, treating it like a proper moment of self-care, of connection, not just grabbing fuel. One source called it being kind to yourself.
Making it more intentional, elevating it.
Right. Turns eating that comfort food into this little grounding ritual. Connects you back home.
Okay, let's shift gears a little, because the sources also got into something a bit more complex maybe, around food and identity, this idea of authenticity.
Yes. The material explored this idea that, well, getting too hung up on wanting food to be exactly how you remember it,
Mm.
that can actually be a bit of a trap, driven by nostalgia.
A trap. How so?
Well, the sources suggest that word authenticity, it's tricky. It can be seen in different ways, sometimes used in a maybe restrictive Western-centric way. The argument is that clinging too tightly to one idea of authentic stops you appreciating how food changes, especially when people migrate, move to new places. Food is dynamic, it evolves.
So just because it's not exactly like mom made it, doesn't mean it's not good or meaningful.
Precisely. The insight is, just like you change when you move somewhere new, you become this new blend influenced by your new surroundings. Well, immigrant food does too. And the sources frame this not as losing something original, but as creativity, inventiveness,
Huh.
pushing boundaries in the kitchen.
Didn't one of the sources, Whetstone, have good examples?
It did. It talked about restaurants like Ikoyi. They're not trying to make quote-unquote authentic West African food. Instead, it's this unique fusion. The chef's background is diverse: West African, Nigerian, Chinese, Canadian, British. So they blend spices, ideas in totally new ways. And the everything bagel was another example. Bagels, Eastern European Jewish immigrants. But the everything topping, that came later in America. A mix of traditions reflecting a new place.
That makes so much sense. Food isn't static. It's alive, like culture. It has to change as people move and mix.
And the key takeaway from this angle in the sources is to focus on the possibilities that come from mixing cultures and experiences, not just mourning some imagined authentic past. The journey isn't about holding on to the past so tightly you can't move, but finding hope, excitement in the new things created by that blend.
It's a bit like that movie, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
The characters are different versions in different universes, but there's no single real one. They're all shaped by where they are.
Exactly. Apply that to food. Each dish is its own thing, in its own place and time. It doesn't need to be judged against some fixed, maybe idealized gold standard of authenticity. That just opens things up, doesn't it, for exploration, discovery.
That's a really liberating way to think about it. Shifts from judgment to just appreciating it.
It really does. Now,
Yeah.
while we've talked a lot about how positive and grounding food can be, the sources did include a gentle but important note about emotional eating.
Right, because food is comforting, but maybe relying only on it to cope
Yeah.
might not be the whole picture.
Exactly. The material acknowledges that, eating because of how you feel, stress, sadness, loneliness, even happiness, that's completely normal. Human. Food is way more than just fuel. It's tied up with joy, connection, comfort, memories, all that stuff.
So reaching for cookies when you're stressed isn't automatically bad.
No, not at all. One source from Northern Health explicitly said emotional eating gets a bad rap, partly thanks to diet culture, and that ignores all the valid roles food plays. Letting yourself enjoy comfort food when you're stressed, that can be part of a normal, healthy relationship with food.
But the key is balance, having other tools in the toolbox.
Precisely. While it's normal, the sources suggest that if food is your only way of coping with tough emotions, maybe that's not helpful long term. If it's the only strategy, it might stop you from figuring out or dealing with the underlying feelings or situations in other ways.
So it's about having a few different ways to handle things, a diverse toolkit.
That's the main point. The material really backed up having other self-care strategies, like the non-food tips we talked about earlier. Connecting with people, journaling, moving your body, even simple stuff like tidying up your space. That Northern Health source specifically mentioned calling family, journaling, showering, tidying all as calming things to do when you feel rough.
And when emotional eating does happen, what did the sources suggest? How should you approach it?
Self-compassion, that was the big thing. Recognizing your feelings without judging yourself, without shame, and then maybe taking a moment to think, okay, what do I really need right now, besides maybe the food? It's about being kind to yourself, understanding why you're reaching for comfort, not beating yourself up over it.
That makes sense. Just pausing, checking in first.
It really does.
So as we kind of wrap up this chat, we've explored how homesickness is just incredibly common, a valid feeling for anyone living away from home.
Yeah, and we've looked at so many different ways people find comfort, connection, grounding, from like simple physical things and using your senses to really intentionally connecting with people back home and where you are now.
And we spend a good chunk of time on food, that layered, powerful role it plays, not just eating, but memory, emotion, identity. It's all in there.
And navigating a new place, different cultures, managing all those feelings. It takes real courage. Real resilience. The sources definitely highlighted that. You should feel proud of yourself for being on that journey wherever it takes you.
Remember that insight from the reading. Homesickness can almost be seen as a blessing, in a way. It means you have a home, a place, people that you love enough to miss deeply. And that itself is pretty special, something to hold on to.
It really is. Speaks volumes about your connections, doesn't it?
So maybe a thought to leave you with. How does this whole experience, longing for home, seeking comfort in the familiar, bumping up against the new, how does that shape your unique identity?
Maybe think of it less like losing something and more like creating something new, like a constantly evolving recipe, maybe. Deeply personal, flavored by everywhere you've been, everything you've felt.
Yeah. Think about the different ways you find comfort, wherever you are right now, and how those moments connect you to your past, but also anchor you right here in your
Yeah.
present.